The courtroom was a sterile cage of polished wood and muted whispers, but for Amanda, it buzzed with her own triumph. Her laughter sliced through the air as she scrawled her signature across the divorce papers, the pen gliding with the ease of her confidence. "Finally," she said, her voice dripping with disdain, "I can be with someone who actually has money." The words landed like a slap, sharp and deliberate, meant to wound. Her smirk, painted in the gloss of her perfectly applied lipstick, didn't waver as she tossed the pen onto the table. Her lawyer, a man with slicked-back hair and a tailored suit, stifled a chuckle, mirroring her arrogance. Across the table, Jeremiah Daniels sat still, his face unreadable, his navy blue sweater, the same one he'd worn at their wedding rehearsal 6 years ago, hanging loosely on his frame. He said nothing, his silence a stark contrast to her venom, his hands folded calmly, almost reverently, as if holding something sacred she couldn't see. Amanda didn't notice the weight of his quiet. She never had. For years, she'd danced through life, her social media a curated gallery of brunches, Pilates classes, and spa retreats, each post a glittering testament to the life she thought she deserved. Jeremiah, in his plain tees and faded jeans, was a footnote in her narrative, a mid-level consultant, she assumed, too unremarkable to question. She never asked about his work, never cared to peel back the layers of the man she'd married. To her, he was a shadow in the background of her spotlight, a man who existed to anchor her world without ever shining in it. She didn't know that his work in tech wasn't just a job, it was the foundation of DNL Property Logic, an AI platform silently reshaping real estate development across 3 major cities, its predictive algorithms driving millions in profits. Jeremiah preferred the shadows, letting his work speak where his voice didn't. Until the hotel receipt slipped from her gym bag, a crumpled confession of her affair, shattering their quiet mornings and replacing them with court dates, the courtroom felt colder than it should have, the air heavy with the weight of finality. Amanda strutted in, her designer heels clicking against the floor like a metronome of her certainty. Flanked by her lawyer, she radiated the kind of confidence that comes from believing you've already won. Jeremiah, by contrast, was a study in restraint, his dark eyes steady, his posture composed, as if the chaos around him couldn't touch the stillness within. When the judge motioned for the papers to be signed, Amanda didn't hesitate. Her laughter rang out again, sharp and careless, as she muttered her jab about money. Jeremiah's face didn't change. He slid his pen across the table with the same deliberate calm he'd always carried, leaning back in his chair, his fingers interlaced like a man waiting for the world to catch up. The judge, an older man with wiry glasses perched on his nose, adjusted them with a slow, deliberate motion. "Before we proceed," he said, his voice cutting through the room's hum, "we must confirm financial disclosures due to the prenuptial agreement." Amanda rolled her eyes, her manicured nails tapping impatiently on the table. She'd signed the prenup years ago without a second glance, too enamored with the idea of marriage to bother with the fine print. The judge's voice continued, steady and unyielding. "Mr. Daniels' filings indicate a real estate portfolio valued at approximately $47.8 million, including private holdings under DNL Property Logic, which powers predictive AI for zoning approvals across multiple metropolitan areas." The room froze. Amanda's smirk vanished, her face a canvas of shock, her eyes blinking rapidly as if trying to rewrite the moment. Her lawyer's pen slipped from his fingers, clattering onto the table. The air seemed to thicken, the silence wrapping the courtroom like a heavy fog. Amanda's lips parted, but no sound came. She stared at Jeremiah, searching for a crack in his composure, a hint that this was a mistake. But he met her gaze with a stillness that felt like judgment, not angry, not vengeful, just absolute. The man she'd mocked, the man she'd dismissed as broke, the man she'd betrayed, was the architect of an empire she'd never bothered to see. Her heart pounded, a frantic rhythm against the cage of her ribs. The realization hit like a tidal wave, she'd signed away everything. The prenup, ironclad and unforgiving, left her with nothing, no claim, no scent, no second chance. Her laughter, once a weapon, now echoed in her mind like a taunt. She'd gambled her future on a man she thought was small, replaceable, and now she sat, frozen in her chair, her designer heels useless against the weight of her mistake. The judge's voice broke through again, calm and procedural. "Is there an issue, Mrs. Daniels?" She tried to speak, but her throat was dry, her confidence shattered. The courtroom whispered, onlookers exchanging glances, but Jeremiah didn't linger. He stood, shoulders square, head high, and nodded to the judge before walking out, his step steady, his presence commanding in its quiet. Outside, the morning air hit him like a baptism. He inhaled deeply, the weight of years lifting from his chest. It wasn't the money that freed him, nor the sting of Amanda's betrayal. It was the peace of no longer needing to prove his worth, not to her, not to anyone. For years, he'd let her believe he was ordinary, let her underestimate him, let her see only the surface of a man who carried the weight of an empire in his silence. Her laughter, her taunts, her affair, they hadn't broken him. They'd revealed her. And now, she'd live with the memory of the day she threw away a king, too blind to see his crown. Back at his office that afternoon, Jeremiah stepped into a room that buzzed with respect. His team greeted him not as a victim, but as their founder, their visionary, the man who'd built something extraordinary from nothing. The story wasn't just about him, though. It was about every black man underestimated, unseen, erased, even in the spaces they call home. It was about the quiet power of excellence, the strength of moving through a world that often refuses to see you, and the freedom of knowing your worth when no one else does. Dear story lovers, if this moved you, drop a like and share your city in the comments. Let's see how far this tale travels. Subscribe for more stories that hit the heart and soul.